Chapter 26. The Undisclosed Dread.
Zentran was content behind the controls of the cruiser. He'd be glad of Zach's company traveling back to Delta 4B. They'd prepared for a confrontation with the Council for most of their lives. Zach was fearless, but also reckless. When it came to using his energy, he was like an enraged beast in a conservative showroom of delicate fineware. Nebulon was also aware of Zach's decision. He was disappointed, but understood Zach's restlessness. It reminded him of himself as a younger man, and Zentran might need the assistance of Zach's ability. Zach broke the unhappy news to Venru as gently as he could. It received the response one would expect from a girl so much in love: surprised disbelief. She handled it well, though, with the strength and dignity they'd come to know of her, keeping her obvious disappointment to herself. Time passed slowly, and Zentran knew it was now he'd have to inform his friends of the horror uncovered from the Council computer. The trauma that had accompanied his discovery had passed. There was no chance his personal distress would be passed on, amplifying the sordid information now. Zach and Nebulon knew everything the instant Zentran lowered his screen. Nebulon had suspected a little of it, but the factors relating to him and his daughter left him cold. Zentran related it verbally for Venru's benefit.
There's something I haven't told you concerning my escapade into the Council's computer a while ago.
The relief in recounting it in words was evident.
Ever since I was a boy, I've been intrigued by lookalikes and how these electronic machines somehow manage to sense our mental energy. Well, the reason for this is regrettably something that none of us would like to hear. As we know, the Council has found the likes of us a threat. We can't be controlled, so their top priority is to seek us out and subdue us.
Venru listened intently, while Zach and Nebulon tried to remain expressionless, dealing with the shock.
Since the first unfortunate individuals like us were arrested, the Council developed devious technology to condition those with substantial mental energy. It went beyond the deprogramming procedure they already had.
Zentran paused, considering how best to put it into words.
Please continue, Zentran.
Only Venru still needed to know. Zentran smiled to comfort her.
The Council knew that the essence of an individual is the spiritual being. It is not something that an individual has. It is what the individual actually is. The body is something that he has.
Zach was irritable.
Don't labour the point, Zentran. Get to the important part.
This is for Venru's benefit. Let's make sure she understands.
So when we say we have a spirit, or refer to it as my spirit, is that wrong?
Yes. It's like saying my me.
I see. But how did this help the Council?
They knew that if they wanted to harness our power, they needed a technology to forcibly extract the spirit from the body, because the power is part of the spirit.
Okay, I understand that. What could they do with that?
Zentran took a breath. Zach and Nebulon watched to see how he would answer.
Their deprogramming procedure would render it more controllable. In this conditioned state, it would be inserted into the synthetic electronic bodies we know as lookalikes.
Oh no!
There was silence for a while.
How do they get them to work against us?
The individual's free will is overridden by the electronic processor in the lookalike's head via the microwave link to the central computer. Lookalikes are continually monitored and controlled via this link. They also have the individual's body, which is kept in a facility as a kind of collateral.
So we are actually fighting ourselves.
No answer was needed.
The army of lookalikes is ever increasing, and the likes of us are all but extinct. Fortunately, this fate didn't befall Zack. Possibly because at the time they thought a child wouldn't be strong enough.
There was a long silence inside the spacecraft. It was Zack who eventually ventured to speak.
But there's more, isn't there, Zentran?
Yes, I'm afraid there is. Some of the individuals that were extracted from their bodies were very strong and couldn't be conditioned. Such extreme deprogramming had to be used that they were totally broken. They became unusable in lookalikes and could no longer function in society.
What happened to them?
They were left abandoned, discarded in the dark zone of Delta 4B. Their collective fear is what dispels intruders. The Council created the demon myths and banned everyone from the area to hide what they'd done.
More silence followed.
Nakars used Qtons, I think, to give these beings a form as the lost and degenerated souls were just left to wander around in oblivion. He was looking after them when Zack and I first came across him. It seems as if he's left that function to me now.
Why do you think that?
There was closeness, a oneness I felt with him, almost like he was part of me. He helped me at the central computer, and he helped in our escape from Delta 5. Part of what he knows was transferred to me. I think he has the ability or knowledge to reverse the deprogramming process. Perhaps something like I was able to do on a smaller scale to get back Zack's abilities.
Venru looked at Zack with concern.
Is there more, Zentran?
Yes, there is. But I'll let your father tell you about that. He already knows through our thought transfer.
Nebulon looked at Zentran and then at Venru, but didn't speak right away.
What is it, Dad?
There is significance to the code DEL374TA, the code that Zack picked up from the lookalikes in the Togton restaurant raid.
Nebulon paused.
What is the significance?
This is the identification number for the lookalike that houses the beingness that is your mother, Famsu. The consciousness that is her was probably in one of the lookalikes of the raid.
Tears welled in Venru and her father's eyes. He held her, trying to comfort her. He had known that the disappearance of his wife in Venru's early childhood was due to a council arrest. He knew also that council members somehow used information gained from arrested individuals, but he had never suspected that their beingness, or what was left of them, had been inserted into lookalikes. Time passed where no one said anything. Then, with some effort, Nebulon gathered a measure of composure. He looked into his daughter's eyes.
I didn't tell you that council agents had arrested your mother. At that time, I thought it less traumatic for you to believe she just disappeared. I also hoped that somehow she would be returned to us one day, even if in a deprogrammed condition. It was a futile hope though, as it had never been known that powerful individuals like your mother were ever returned or ever heard of again after an arrest. Now we know why.
Zentran silently witnessed his friend's grief. He felt inadequate now. There seemed to be no way to put the situation right. But he knew somehow he had to. Those were his mission orders. His ex-commanding officer from Rowan, then Felissa Framson working for the council, had summoned him to Delta 4B to fix the misdeed she'd been tricked into. He'd put these pieces together. Having been coerced into supplying her knowledge of extracting and reinserting spiritual beings, she'd realized the Council's devilish purpose too late.
She sent for me to help fix the disaster, Zach. The incident had such a negative impact on her that she banished it from her memory. Foreign knows that she did something terrible, but can't confront what it was. She has no idea in the present. She won't even remember her own know-how of withdrawing and inserting souls.
So how are we going to fix it, Zentran?
It's not going to be enough to defeat the Council. That's only the start. We have to find a way to restore lookalikes.
What? That's impossible. How could we ever do that?
Well, deep down, Flora knows how to do it. But we can't ask her until she's ready to face what she did. If we just told her, she would either not believe it, or she might self-destruct mentally. Either way, the know-how would get buried even deeper.
Defeating the Council is near impossible as it is. How could we ever come by that know-how without Fora?
I have an idea you might be the key.
Me?
I don't think you're here by accident, Zach. Remember when you glimpsed the picture that Nakars let slip?
Yes?
You told me that it was accompanied by a realization that in your past there is information we badly need on Delta 4B.
Zach nodded.
I think that's it. Of course, Nakars must also know. But based on previous experience, it's unlikely he'll inform us. For now, though, we have to focus on the Council.
The Council's senseless perversion of life deeply concerned Zentran. Their systematic degradation of the culture, once proud and mentally strong, was inconceivable. Why? Surely a race with such attributes would have been a credit to its leaders and its guarantee of limitless advancement. How could anyone have been so short-sighted? They'd rendered the entire civilization passive and mentally sterile, while allowing advancement only in materialistic sciences. In these, they'd risen above their forefathers. One just had to observe the marvels of Delta 4B construction, the extent of their space exploration, and the speed of their latest spacecraft. Their technology was unrivaled. On the face of it, it looked so commendable. But the elimination of mentally superior individuals would nevertheless have hampered it. What the present civilization had been conditioned to hold in such high esteem would have benefited even more from had it been done by scientists who could see the full picture. The brilliance made possible by such would have produced vision and technology far beyond the stars. Zentran understood the Council's evil intent. They considered themselves incapable of mental development. So to maintain their control, they had to eliminate it in others. Venru broke the silence.
Can we ever go back?
She had more reason to be concerned than the others. Their civilization's plight was relatively new to her. The weight of their precarious situation left her once more with a feeling of helplessness. In the light of everything she'd known, or thought she'd known, her accomplishments as a musician seemed so unimportant now.
Is this what happens to people who have everything and suddenly realize they have nothing?
She thought to herself. She'd pondered this thought sometimes, having observed the most successful of individuals self-destruct for no apparent reason. They did it directly or indirectly through illness or some other destructive activity. The realization gave her the strength not to succumb. She looked at the three men she had come to know. They smiled comfortingly. No concern showed on their faces. Theirs was well concealed. They knew what they had to do.